An approved maintenance organization is one that may perform maintenance, preventive maintenance, or alterations on an aircraft engine, component, or part thereof for which it is rated, with projections that an approved facility could help save Nigerian Airlines over $90 million in offshore maintenance. That's our focus this week, and the Kaduna International Airport begins the certification race.
An airplane is a powered, fixed-wing aircraft that is propelled forward by thrust from a jet engine or propeller. Airplanes come in a variety of sizes, shapes, and wing configurations and are used for recreation, transportation of goods and people, military, and research. Like everything made, aircraft, after hours of doing what they were created for, flying, do get tired and need checks. Airworthiness authorities casually refer to the checks commonly as one of the following: A check, B check, C check, or D check. A and B checks are lighter checks, while C and D are considered heavier checks.
There are life-limiting components in the aircraft engine. The blades are there. There is condition and unconditioned monitoring. There are different kinds of maintenance that you carry out. There are ones that after a certain number of hours of flight or cycle, you must change them. Whether you fly the aircraft or you don't fly the aircraft, you must change those things because of weather, because of deterioration. There are also some that you must change them, pending on inspection. Like the aircraft controls. Part of the reason why it's called C-check is because you rip the aircraft off. Everything, the whole captain's seat, cockpit, passenger seat, everything, the floor panels, the roof, the ceilings, the windows, the engine, everything is being dismantled.
MROs are key to any successful aviation outfit. So we need to have a formidable MRO. What we intend to do is to increase it to take up to 4 airplanes. This place can take up to 4 airplanes. Then after that, we'll move to the next level. The next level is upholstery, that is the cabin, the inside of the cabin, and then paint shop. So let's say we finish that and we build another hangar.
Aircraft operators may perform some work at their own facilities, but often checks, and especially the heavier checks, take place at the maintenance, repair, and overhaul sites. But just recently, Nigeria's oldest airline, Aero Contractors, successfully rolled out its in-house C-check after getting an approval to become a maintenance organization for Boeing Classic planes, meaning Nigerian Airlines' fleet of about 30 Boeing planes can now save foreign exchange.
Why our airlines don't make it is simply this. This maintenance is done abroad, but they sell ticket in Naira. All their income is in Naira. They are going to convert it to go and get dollars, to go and do that. They are going to fly the aircraft and bring it back. That's a killer. That's what is killing them. So when you have in-house maintenance capability, you are there.
The C-check on a plane is performed approximately every 20 to 24 months, or a specific amount of actual flight hours, or as defined by the manufacturer. This check puts the aircraft out of service, and the aircraft must not leave the maintenance site until it's completed. With this approved facility, this may just be the beginning of good things for airline operators, as the facility could help save Nigerian Airlines over $90 billion in offshore maintenance.
An engineer with many years of expertise breaks down what kind of services an approved maintenance organization offers.
Apart from the 737 certification, which is a recent addition to our capability list, we've always had capability to maintain the Dash 8 series, all models of the Dash 8 aeroplanes, up to C-check as well. So we've actually been in this business for a while. Generally, maintenance inspections carried out on aeroplanes are in different grades, depending on the amount of resources, the scope or complexity of the task to be carried out. A check is we have all kinds of checks. The first category of checks are called lower checks. Those are they are called any check below an A. That's the checks we carry out every first thing in the morning. We call them the pre-departure check. The checks you carry out on an airplane after it has landed before it goes on the next flight. We call that transit inspection. There are checks that are carried out on weekly basis. These are weekly checks. So weekly checks, transit checks, and pre-departure checks are called lesser checks. That means pretty much anybody can carry that out. Then there are what we call the letter checks. Letter checks are for extensive maintenance. So you have A checks that are done roughly every month, a month or 2 months, depending on how well we fly the aeroplane. Then there are B checks. B checks are done quarterly, but that has been discontinued globally, simply because A checks have been so expanded that they've eclipsed B checks. Then you have C checks. C checks are the checks that you carry out year. So the concept of C check is annual inspections of the aeroplane. But because 737, like I said, classics, 737 is in at least 3 general range. You have the 737 original, the 100 and 200 series that the old Nigeria Airways operated, at the 737 classics, the 3, 4, 500. Then you have the most modern, the 737 NGs. The lessons from maintenance that were learned on the 200 series, the originals, were incorporated into the development of the classics. So for the classics, you have A checks and C checks, unlike A, B, C that you had on the old models. So we are certified to perform A checks. We've been performing A checks for the past 11 years, and recently now we've been upgraded to C checks. C check, very, very important, because since the law requires that we perform C checks, it means that whenever C checks are due in the past, you've always had to fly aeroplane out and spend a lot of money in the process. But fortunately now we can do this C check internally now. If you are doing C check, it's an opportunity to strip down the aeroplane, inspect the aeroplane for things that is required to, or things that are required to give confidence that the airplane can remain in service for the next year. So basically there are lots of jobs that are involved in the C check. It touches the engines, it touches the legs. The legs are called the landing gear. It touches the interior of the aeroplane, it touches the exterior, it touches the wings. So we will inspect with our eyes, we call those visual inspections. We will inspect with machines, we call those non-destructive testing inspections. We will carry out special job requests from the manufacturer and from government. Quite a whole range of inspections are carried out to a depth and scope that will require the airplane to be out in the hangar for more than a month, 6 weeks. All the jobs that are to be done on aeroplane are usually transmitted to the engineers doing it in written format. It is those written format that is called task card. The reason that is done is, aeroplane maintenance is all about, it's not just about doing the work, it's also about taking responsibility for it. The pilot that wants to fly the aeroplane needs assurance that the right thing or the right things have been done on the aeroplane. And the only way he can do that is to see a task card. So a task card does 3 things. 1, it gives unambiguous instruction about what has to be done. 2, it obligates the person doing the job to take responsibility, because then it has to be signed and you have to now append your signature and special approvals or special insignia or items that can easily be used to trace back to the person that carried out the job. Then it's also evidence as to the history of the aeroplane, so that in future, if you need to review the aeroplane and determine whether things have been done or not, the task card is proof that things have been done. So.
As the federal government scales up plans to ensure that another national carrier comes on stream, An expert has asked that there should be a synergy between existing airlines and the proposed carrier. He believes that a route analysis is key to the success of any line.
The government set in its stead now to operate. What should be done, or what the question should be, is what routes are they going to operate in? You already have these domestic airlines that are actually operating the domestic as the regional, and the international lucrative routes. So what's going to happen? Before this happens, before this starts, we should actually have a comprehensive route analysis. We should actually have a route demographic analysis of the passenger that will be going. Second, that will be going on this route. Thirdly, you should actually have the analysis of the competition, because we are especially on the international route, the national carrier that is coming on board, will it be part of any synergy or any alliance? These are things that would actually help buffer and grow the airline over the years. We've not seen any domestic airline have that synergy, and that's actually been a death trap to the airline.
Ethiopian Airlines, one of Africa's largest aviation groups, has taken delivery of the largest B737 MAX 8 aircraft into its fleet. The acquisition came few weeks after the airline group announced that it had taken delivery of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, making its 100th aircraft. With the delivery of the new ultra-modern aircraft, Ethiopia's fleet of Boeing Airlines grew to 73 jets, including the 787 Dreamliner. The airport on Indonesia's holiday island of Bali has reopened after ash from a volcano forced a brief closure and the cancellation of more than 300 flights. Mount Agung in northeastern Bali has been rumbling to life since late last year, and it began belching smoke and ash again on Thursday, June 28. Airlines avoid flying through volcanic ash as it can damage aircraft engine, clog fuel and cooling systems and hamper visibility. Anxious passengers said they were relieved to hear the news that the flight had resumed at the airport and look forward to be heading home.
I was a little freaked out because I wasn't sure if we'd be able to get home today or tomorrow, but knowing that we are going to be able to get on the plane, I'm not upset or anything like that. It happens. What are you going to do? It's been happening everywhere, so it's part of life. You got to deal with it.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the first time I have like an experience like this with a natural disaster. I'm traveling by myself, so of course it's a little bit scary. But I think now it's everything okay, so yeah.
Cuban airline passengers have found themselves traveling by bus as the Cuban government temporarily cancelled domestic flights. Passengers intending to fly by Cubana de Aviation airline were provided bus alternatives for travel throughout the country. The general director of the Cuban Aviation Agency, Marta Rojo, said her organization was making every effort to help passengers. The government has not explained why flights are being cancelled. Cuba's airline industry made headlines in May when more than 100 people were killed when a Boeing 737 domestic flight crashed soon after taking off in Havana.
After the break, the Apex team from the Airport Council International comes calling on the Kaduna Airport in northern Nigeria. Do join us again.